Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the last session of today. And today, through the different keynotes and panels, the presentation of the State of SupTech Report, we really heard a lot about the magic of AI and how much progress there has been in terms of deployment of AI tools in the SupTech applications. We also become more aware about some of the concerns, some of the risks, the international collaborative frameworks, and some of the work done for example, in the UK and in other countries to have the governance of the AI ready for this journey to advance. So it's really important for us to understand and discuss how do we get prepared? What is the readiness for AI? And so I'm incredibly pleased to have with us today this incredible panel, which will be moderated by Nathalie Lenehan from the Cambridge SupTech Lab. Nathalie, over to you to introduce the speakers, and thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simone, for this warm introduction. Hello, everybody. I am Nathalie Lenehan. I'm the Technical Program Manager at the Cambridge SupTech Lab. And I'm honored to be moderating today's session on AI readiness with this panel of experts. So I don't know if this is the first session you're joining today or if you've been listening all along, but we've heard some amazing ideas and implementations of AI tools within the supervisory process so far today, and then also have touched on many considerations that must accompany the planning and implementation of these systems. As reflected in the State of SupTech Report, SupTech isn't a destination, but an incremental journey from manual processes to increasingly tech-enabled, digitally transformed systems. But it's not just a one and done, one use case at a time, one data set at a time. And so it helps to develop frameworks, to develop repeatable processes, to leverage resources and expertise of things that have proven to be successful, to inform people and agencies who are just starting out with the experience of our experts. And so here today we have Dr. Sartek Sun, who is the head of a division of Prudential Domain Services at the European Central Bank. He is responsible for the delivery and support of core systems for financial stability and supervision, supervisory statistics, and European System Risk Board at the European Central Bank. And he's also involved in several AI strategy and delivery streams within the ECB, ESSM and ESCB. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are also joined by Alyson, who is a senior Microsoft Azure specialist and has been dedicated to supporting New York State and New Jersey state and local government accounts. And in her role, she has played a pivotal role in helping financial-focused agencies within the public sector leverage AI solutions to enhance their operations and break barriers around the work they accomplish. So it'll be great to hear and see what can we learn and leverage in AI implementation in the public sector today. And then finally, we're also joined by Matt Lowe, who is an innovation lab manager at Financial Conduct Authority in the UK. He's a technical specialist and design lead working within the regulatory technology team. And focus on delivery of the digital sandbox, which I'm sure he would love to share and tell you all about, perhaps at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the conversation over to our panelists and start with Dr. Sartek Sun, having led supervisory technologies and data section and the Prudential Domain Service Division at ECB over the past several years. What factors do you think most influence the adoption of new technologies like AI in public sector?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. I've understood I can share something to ease a bit the discussion, which I would do in a second. Just a second. I'm just opening the file and sharing the screen. I hope that works. Can you see it?
I don't see it yet.
Okay. I'm trying again. it says, okay, I have to authorize that. Okay, here we go. Share. It should work now. It's just opening.
Yes.
Yeah, is it there?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I think there are a couple of factors influencing the AI adoption. Public sector organizations like central banks or supervisory authorities. And I truly recommend one report that was recently published by the European Commission Joint Research Center. I can share the link in a minute. And I've seen this in the ECB, European Central Bank. We started the journey 5 years ago. And the main challenges have been not really on the technology side. The main challenges are in institutions like the ECB, where I think compliance matters, reputation matters, and the organization is quite hierarchical. The main challenge number one is to bring the leadership on your side. And that is the first recommendation I would give. So think about trainings, think about sessions for top managers, senior managers. We have done this across the board for board members, tailored trainings, for senior managers, tailored trainings. Why is this important? Because they need to understand the potential. They need to encourage their people. They need to free up resources. They have to empower them. And leadership is key. Starting at the top, the tone of the top is something I would truly recommend. Otherwise, very difficult in institutions like, for instance, the ECB to really get things through. The other topic that has to do with the in-house expertise, I think we are all lacking a bit this, let me say, deep AI expertise. What we have done instead was we have been on the one hand looking for highly specialized partners in the market. I call them always the AI boutiques that just do AI. And here, if I may say, you cannot fully rely on the large-scale system integrators. You really need AI boutiques who are just known for their expertise in AI deployment. And at the same time, we have also decided wisely to insource, to bring some of the core competencies back to the ECB, which was very useful. And this is not only applicable for technical skills, also applicable for business skills. You need also, I think, a similar size of people on the business side that help you in use case assessments, training the data, and supporting a lot of the change management activities. Last but not least, I think we still have this continuous monitoring and exchange. What is happening in the market? We have these exchanges with supranational authorities, but we also have an ideation funnel where we collect use cases. Here, I think it's quite important to be crystal clear what we prioritize as high-value use cases and what is something that probably can be done by our citizen developers. I think when you have these three things, I think, addressed, I personally think the AI adoption, even in public sector organization, can become reality. But it's quite important to start, I think, with the leadership layer and to create also a strategy. That's maybe the last thing I want to say. I really don't like the term of creating an AI strategy. I personally don't like it. We didn't create an internet strategy years ago. AI should be part of a digital strategy, or should be embedded into the digital, let me say, ambitions of business areas. And from there, we should take the journey and not creating an isolated AI strategy just for the sake of adopting AI. That is my last word on this. And yeah, looking forward for your views.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. A lot of what you said resonated with me. Specifically, when you said the technical part is not the most challenging. It's the part before the technical part, right? Because at a certain point, AI is going to become, like you say, you've got some AI experts, just like you might have some Java experts or software development experts. And so once they've developed that expertise, like you said, it becomes another tool in the toolbox. Sometimes you need Java, sometimes you need Python, and it's just different tools and different things. And so that makes all the sense that it's an overall digital strategy and not silo out the AI component. Thank you so much. Alyson, I saw you turn your camera on, and you're next. You want to jump in and add something to this, or should I turn the question over to you?
No, you can turn the question over to me. I'm ready. Thank you.
Sounds good. So you've been involved in several projects in the last few years with Microsoft Azure. What are the key elements to the AI readiness framework that you leverage with your clients, and can public sector colleagues learn from private sector conversation around AI readiness?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you all for having me. I'm really excited to share some of my strategy today. And yeah, let's jump right into it. So AI adoption should not have to be overwhelming or hard, right? It's just all about building an adequate strategy, well thought out strategy, right, for a financial authority in the public sector. So typically the AI readiness framework includes several key elements to ensure your org is prepared to effectively implement and leverage AI technologies. Typically I work in the power of threes, but in this case, the framework has about 6 important pillars. It's important not to miss out on any, piece of this framework while you're building out your strategy. So I'll go ahead and start. The first is ultimately building out your data strategy and governance, right? Establishing robust data management practices, including your data quality, accessibility, and security is crucial. You want to ensure that the AI models are built on reliable and accurate data. We always say here at Microsoft, garbage in, garbage out. So ensuring that you have that quality of data and the governance behind it is essential. Secondly, ensuring that you have the infrastructure and the computing power built out to fit AI needs, right? So including high performance compute resources is necessary, and overall ensuring that your networking components are in place. Sometimes you have to upgrade your existing on-premise architecture to fit the needs to perform in an AI environment. 3 would be talent and skills development. So this is really important in investing in training and development for the entire team, right? So you want to build a workforce skilled in AI technologies and methodologies. It's more than just, like you said, having somebody who is like a Java friendly, right? In this case, the entire organization needs to understand and be trained and equipped in AI, and that can come in a couple of different flavors. So, you can build out training for your lines of business and C-suite executives, and also training and skilling for your more technical folks who will be operating on the back end. The 4th pillar is ethical and responsible AI practices. So you want to implement guidelines and frameworks to ensure AI is used ethically and responsibly. So addressing issues like bias, transparency, and accountability. This is something that you can, typically we're seeing agencies build out an AI committee where they're meeting with other industries, like other financial authorities within their industry, maybe even, different academic organizations, and then even the private sector as well, to garner insights and learnings from what they've done and accomplished, and helping build out, an ethical and responsible AI practice for your organization to adopt. And that kind of leans on the next pillar, which is collaborative partnerships and ecosystems. Really building partnerships with other organizations has deemed successful because you learn from the success and also the mistakes that are happening across the industry. And then finally, as always, change management and cultural readiness. I mentioned earlier that talent and skills development is super crucial in building out your AI strategy, but preparing the organization for AI adoption through change management strategies and making sure that you're fostering a culture that embraces innovation and continuous learning is, the final and really important piece of that framework. So overall, if you're putting in the time and the dedication to align to who from the team is going to be responsible for what component of AI, you will see a successful outcome and build a long-term adoption framework to make, projects seamlessly integrated. So that was pretty much the strategy. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to share the points that I mentioned in the chat.
Great, Alyson. Thank you so much. I think one thing that you said that I translated in my mind as a difference between private and public sector, or maybe it's not a difference, but when you talk about partnerships across industry, and yes. I think for financial authorities, and this also kind of connects with something that Sertak said earlier, in terms of siloed projects within an organization, And so financial agencies or financial authorities typically have very distinct business units, and oftentimes they have very siloed projects.
Yes.
And so here I want to apply what you said about these partnerships to our audience, that within your agency, you want to partner with the other business unit, right? So if another unit, whether it's, they're prudential, but you're cyber and their market conduct, it doesn't matter. Data science, doesn't care about the use case. If you're going to use a certain technique or tools, you want to leverage that. You want to partner with the other units within your agency to leverage not only the resources, but what they've learned, and, not start at square one for every project within the same agency.
Yes, and I can add a little bit more to that. Typically, when we're having these ideation sessions with our agencies, we're bringing in the line of business and IT teams to make sure that we have all rooms in the house involved in the meetings to really create these well thought out plans to adopt AI. It's important to take the business challenges and then merge them with IT, which is the AI components, right? So it's imperative that all teams are kind of talking. And part of what we're doing here at Microsoft is also bringing in, connecting the dots, like I mentioned earlier, with similar agencies in the industry, right? So for example, really tapping into your ecosystem to learn about how they're solving for those challenges and what's worked. That's how we've been able to have customers, really get the ground running on AI and have a seamless start without any interruptions or issues with when it comes to security, governance, or, ethical and responsible AI.
Absolutely. Excellent. Great. Thank you so much for your insight, Alyson. Matt, over to you. Your work within the UK Financial Conduct Authority is really where the rubber hits the road. How did the readiness factor resonate with your practical experience working with financial authority and AI-driven SupTech vendors?
Yeah, thanks, Nathalie. Hello, everybody. Apologies for my lighting. It's a bit difficult to get the lighting right for this part of the house, but yeah, so bear with me on that. So AI readiness in financial authorities isn't just a technical journey for us, it's an organizational mind shift. In my view, it's about creating those conditions where, failure is safe, learning is fast, and solutions are scalable. At the FCA, I've seen firsthand, I guess, how regulatory experimentation can act as a catalyst for this transformation, helping us explore AI's potential while addressing its risks. So initiatives like the AI Lab, Digital Sandbox, and TechSprint World all sit in my domain, and they've taught us that readiness requires a combination of that foresight, collaboration, and willingness to experiment. In this regard, our role, I guess, it's both practical and profound because it enables innovation in a space that demands that highest level of trust. And with that, I'd just like to share 3 key aspects of, I guess, AI readiness that we've deployed. So the first is this creation of what we call a regulatory third space. That's where innovators and regulators can engage in dialogue without the fear of immediate scrutiny. This also allows us to explore those emerging technologies while addressing shared concerns such as bias, explainability, and fairness. Our newly launched AI Lab initiative serves this very purpose, and that's made up of these 4 interconnected components. If I can, I might just see if I can share my screen. I haven't tested this, so please bear with me if it doesn't work. No, I'm not going to do that because I could share something I don't want to. But anyway, I'll talk you through it and then I'll post in the chat links to the AI Lab on our website. But if I start with the first component, that is the AI Spotlight. So that's there to highlight these practical AI solutions and that are taking on those key challenges. So that's ranging from bias and fairness to data quality and explainability. In turn, what we do is we get to see, I guess, the front row view of practical applications of AI within specific domains. The second initiative, so this is what we call the AI Sprint. This brings together industry, academics, regulators, technologists, and consumer representatives to help inform our regulatory approach to AI. In fact, applications for the AI Sprint, they're closing at midnight today. So I'd encourage anybody that's listening and think that they might want to apply to have a look at the website. And I said I'll post that in the chat later. So make sure you don't miss that window for that. Thirdly, we want to ensure we get this diverse array of perspectives as we start to shape our policy and regulatory considerations. So the third initiative is what we call the AI Input Zone. This complements the AI Sprint through online feedback platforms to capture views on the most transformative use cases and how our current framework works and how we might need to adapt it in the future. And then finally, and this has been alluded to as well by previous guest Alyson, where she was talking about the data component and the compute. And so it's no secret that you need effective AI requires that quality data, and many of the innovators face this what we call the data sharing paradox. So that's where they need access to realistic data sets, but also we need to respect privacy and security concerns. So that's why with the fourth initiative, we call the Supercharged Sandbox. So that's about providing a safe and data compliant testing ground for AI applications. We're doing this by running AI focused tech sprints, and we'll enhance our digital sandbox infrastructure through greater computing power and also enriched data sets to increase AI testing capabilities. So now if I move on to the second aspect, AI readiness is also about equipping regulators with the right tools. So at the FCA, we have a department called the Advanced Analytics Department, and that leads cutting edge data science work, such as using AI for enhanced market monitoring and early detection of risks. In addition to this, we have something called the Digital Unified Intelligence Environment, or DUI, and that's a state-of-the-art platform that unifies disparate data streams into a coherent, actionable view of the financial landscape. This kind of infrastructure is essential for any financial authority, I think, to keep pace with AI-driven innovation and anticipating those risks before they materialize. Finally, readiness isn't just about financial regulation. It spans data protection, ethics, competition, and online safety. So we have forums that we like the Digital Regulatory Cooperation Forum, or we call it the DRCF AI Hub. We have another one called DIFOR and the Global Financial Innovation Network, where we enable that collaboration across multiple domains, ensuring that AI systems meet the demands of overlapping regulatory mandates. And this cross-sectoral alignment builds trust in the ecosystem and ensures that innovation is both safe and impactful. Experimentation and dialogue, I guess, that bridge that gap between regulators and innovators. So programs like our Tech Sprint program, which is our regulatory hackathon program, and the Digital Sandbox, which is the environment that we have where people can actually test and build. They don't just test those technologies, they test the relationships, they test the assumptions and those regulatory frameworks. And by providing a safe space for dialogue, these initiatives help shift the narrative so that regulation isn't a roadblock to innovation, but it can act as more of a scaffolding that lets innovation scale. And then I guess ultimately, AI readiness is for financial authorities and innovators about finding the balance between bold experimentation and responsible oversight. So through initiatives like the AI Lab and DUI, we're creating these spaces where innovation and regulation meet. This isn't just about addressing today's challenges, it's about laying the groundwork for a future where AI both drives trust and transformation.
Thank you so much, Matt. Very insightful. You covered a lot of ground there. Thank you.
I do my best in the short space of time I've got.
Yeah, this is a short amount of time. So we have a question from the audience, and then we'll turn over to a round robin, another question that I'll circle around for everyone to answer. So here Jorge is asking, how can one introduce AI and similar technologies in public organizations that have been historically reluctant to change and innovate? Do we have a taker for that one?
I can take it if you like.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question because, regulators and, other authorities, national competent authorities, or agencies, however you want to brand them, they do have like a risk profile within their culture, which is really something you need to push back a little bit. In terms of what our journey's been at the FCA, it's about making sure that you've got that senior leadership buy-in. I think that's really important because strategically it's really difficult to get some of these things off the ground if they can't see what the benefit will be. And so you might need to also think about how you start small and then expand that work program out. So I would say, yeah, it's to get that buy-in, I'd start small. I'd start thinking about what are those quick wins that you can get and demonstrate the value of innovation, especially in the AI space, given that there's so much, so much attention on it at the moment. And then think about how you can then build out a case to create something a bit bigger and broader that starts to change that cultural mindset.
Yeah. I can also add to that as well. I mentioned earlier that it's really important to have, all rooms of the house on board when you're discussing AI. I think that's where you can have, your ideation, not only your education, but also your ideation sessions. When you do have all of the different, segments of the business together in a room, you can kind of do a deep dive around some of the challenges or ideas that the different individuals in the room have, and lean in on, listen for what challenge or idea you hear that you can help transform with AI, and help prove that out as your initial business case, right? So, for example, I know when I'm in meetings, I'm always listening for any challenges with backlogs, right? Typically, in the public sector, there are discrepancies and challenges with the amount of time it takes to get certain processes done, right? So leaning in on that and leveraging AI to help, right? Not replace the human in the room, but always have that human in the loop, but using AI to help you along the way. That's where I've seen success in helping, clients who have, typically been hesitant to adopt AI, kind of change their thoughts about it when we, go through the framework that I mentioned earlier, and also tap into how we can help solve for their specific challenges or bring an idea to life.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I can maybe also contribute. I fully subscribe what Matt and Alyson has said. Matt has, I think, mentioned for me the number one catalyst is the top executive, the board member that is passionate, that is supporting, that is empowering the people to experiment. Without that, it doesn't fly in institutions like ours, the banking supervision part of the ECB. Second topic is, together with that, give people who are interested the spirit of founders. So they have to act like founders. I always tell to some of the product teams that develop AI products in the ECB, they act like mini CEOs. They have to be empowered. They have to be cross-functional. This is quite important. And the third thing is, I'm not a big fan of these big hackathons, use cases, experimentations. They go nowhere. I would rather say the institution needs a strong focus, should define where they want to really operationalize use cases, and maybe focus on 5, 10 high-value use cases instead of running all these big events over events, conferences over conferences. At the end, what matters is what scales, what is operationalized. And that is a bit symptomatic for, let me say, institutions that are in the early stages of experimenting. At a certain point, I think it's quite important to set targets. We had this in the second year of the ECB, we want to bring 10 SupTech products, of which 5 were really AI products, into production. And with that aspiration, we started developing the skills, the data infrastructure. We have started building bespoke developed solutions or buying solutions from the market. But it's quite important that you have a focus. Why should you build all these things on stock when you don't know which business problem you want to solve? That's something that you hear more and more also in various conferences. In BIS recently, that it's quite important now that the top management team says, okay, we set the priorities, we set the focus, and the ecosystem around AI, for instance, has to be developed, focusing on exactly these business problems. Otherwise, it will be unmanageable. We have at the moment more than 300 GenAI use cases in our pipeline. Is this useful? I question that. What matters now is prioritization, and that is something that has to take place.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think it's a matter of weighing out which use cases would be the best fit. Also, I would say starting out with the client's internal data first before bringing it public. That's always really helpful in a strategy that we're activating, in the public sector, is bringing the AI experience to the client within their data sets and their data realm, right, before exposing it out to the public. Once we prove out a couple of solid use cases internally, then we can figure out a way to launch at mass scale. That's also another successful strategy if you have a client that, is a little bit tougher and reluctant to adopt innovation.
Yeah, so just can I add one more thing? Also, I completely agree with the defining what those problem statements or use cases will be. When we do our tech sprint program, there is a lot of groundwork that we do up front to say, okay, what is the problem statement you're trying to get to here? What's the outcome you're trying to achieve? And if there's a data component, there's a lot of energy that goes into making sure that data is safe and reliable and available for the participants so they can actually start to build out proof of concepts and scale afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah, all of these things resonate with my experience as well. And I think the way that each of you described that, that preliminary first step, that we're not doing AI for the sake of AI, we're doing AI because there's different tools and techniques that allow you to do things we couldn't do before, whether it's, optical, PDF extraction or text analysis or, heat maps and patterns. And so you have to know what problem are you trying to solve. We call that, the value proposition analysis, the pains and the gains and what problem you're trying to solve. But I think that personally beyond, absolutely getting senior management on board and the leadership on board, that there's value in doing this. I think another element for the reluctance is fear and regulations on data protection and cloud usage. So, some jurisdictions just flat out just cannot do cloud computing. The data cannot go there at all. So what are the alternatives? Is it building out your on-prem data center with tons of GPU, and that's super costly and you have to maintain that? Or maybe there's other things that can be done for those jurisdictions that are blocked by some of these security constraints through anonymization or through some other techniques. So can anyone speak to those things? Like, how do we, bypass these regulatory constraints against cloud computing to be able to leverage AI? Anyone?
Going to go first. Alyson, you went off mute, but did you want me to go first?
I was just going to mention that clients can explore like hybrid options that are out there in the marketplace. There are a number of hybrid options where you can bring the cloud experience to your data center. And I think those are the best fit in order to help, try to adopt AI for those agencies that are not able to, fully adopt a native cloud option.
Yeah, and our experience, I guess, on the digital sandbox program, where effectively we're hosting data in a separate cloud environment that people can use and experiment with. One of the things that we want to make sure is that data is 100% safe before we make that more widely available. So you may need to follow some pseudonymization or anonymization or develop some synthetic data that is a true representation of the real world. We did a market abuse surveillance tech sprint about, it feels like 6 months ago now. It's probably even longer. But that was using our market data to help detect, or using AI models to detect market abuse. And we went through a long process of making sure that the data we're providing throughout that tech sprint, which is like a 3-month cohort, that was completely safe. It was anonymized, and there was no other way of identifying maybe commercial strategies as well. So that there is a very much like a lot of work you need to do to get it into that safe space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On our side, being also extremely risk averse, we had to convince data protection officers, information security officers, risk managers. And this came also with a couple of trainings. People, before they enter our safe LLM environment, they are usually trained, and they are also asked questions about the information data, let me say, sensitivity. So we have also quite strong information governance policy, what may be used outside the ECB in a cloud environment, what not. We are on AWS, Microsoft Azure, and this came also with a couple of security measures. In addition to that, I think it comes also back to the question of make or buy. What are things that you should ideally buy from the market and use the large scalers, for instance, to develop certain models, certain capabilities? And what are things which are so sensitive, so, let me say, tailored, that a bespoke development makes more sense? So this typical make or buy decision is also something that we apply. And in addition to that, I mean, we have nowadays understood equally important is the API gateway that we offer to our colleagues when they want to use large language models. Data never leaves the ECB, and there are certain APIs and API key management techniques to ensure that certain things really don't leave even the environment. So we are very keen on these things, but I think it's technical, it's people-related training, and it's quite important to be very conscious which use cases and which data sets you you allow for AI use case.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, we have time for round robin to maybe 2 minutes each. We'll start with Matt. With all the factors in place, how can a financial authority early in their journey get started? What are some of the pitfalls to avoid along the way? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, rookie mistake. Yeah, so I've got 2 minutes, so I'll just be real quick. So one, adopt a learn by doing mindset. So with the Digi Sandbox, this is like, it began as a test environment for specific solutions around COVID-19, but then that quickly evolved into a broader platform for like collaboration, problem solving, and like trying to focus on those complex regulatory challenges. 2, stay focused and pragmatic with the use cases. So we've sort of touched on that already, but being specific about, you know, the use case that you're trying to tackle, rather than going broad, be really focused. And if you think about fraud detection or financial inclusion, try to think about how you get those quick wins and build trust. And yeah, that kind of talks to the, instead of like picking those really broad, ambitious sort of problems, just really focus on what are the specific ones that you're trying to solve. 3, invest in internal capacity, so building that trust and strong data foundations. Don't forget the power of collaboration. The same is also for AI solutions. So they're only as good as the architecture and the training data. So the services we offer are only as good as the infrastructure and skills that shape it. So the participation we get, we need to rely heavily on our networks and our convening power. We don't have all that expertise, and we need to bring that in where we have those gaps. It's the same with our tech sprint program. It's not just as obvious about relating to the use cases, but the actual model changes and the feedback that we get from each tech sprint means that we evolve that model, and we try to make them work for different problems that we're trying to solve. On pitfalls, so jumping straight into tools without a strategy, I think you need to define the problem before selecting the tool for engagement. So we have lots of different tools. We've got tech sprint, policies, sprints. We've got desk-based research. Sometimes you just got to pick the right tool for whatever it is the problem you're trying to solve. So make sure you're actually doing that correctly. And never overlook that human-centered design consideration. So this is especially true for AI. With the development of the program, it needs to be human-centered in its design and its objectives. Ultimately, we're all going to be a participant in this journey, like as consumers ourselves. So it's really important to take those concerns in each and every one of us in the ecosystem. And finally, just don't neglect the role of regulatory experimentation. So it's not meant to be a contradiction. Regulators should experiment to remain adaptive and pace with developments, but we can't find solace in outdated ways of thinking or working. So if it comes with the acknowledgement that we cannot turn a blind eye to the risks and just let them go away, but actively engaging with the sector, find the responsible challenge for development that minimize those risks while maximizing the opportunities. And the only way to do that is to adopt a safe and controlled test and learning environment.
Fantastic. Couldn't agree with you more. There's so much to be said for front-loading discovery and piloting and prototyping, so that you can really flush out all of the unknowns and then move forward with confidence with your ultimate production solution. Thank you so much, Matt. Alyson, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. I would say, just to follow the framework that I mentioned earlier, right? Data strategy and governance is key imperative. It's the first step. Also, when I was talking about talent and skills development, so you're going to want to focus on upskilling and then reskilling, right? This is not something where, you learn the rhythm of AI and then you step away from, education, right? It's an ever-changing type of environment. So just making sure that, your organization is being upskilled and you're adopting AI training as, a regular course in your annual trainings and reviews. And then the other thing I would say is it's really important, like you mentioned earlier, to benchmark the best practices. So when you've built out that data governance and security model, you have the benchmarks built out and recorded somewhere so that you can see and can follow the same best practices, and make sure that, you're just being secure and governed throughout every step of the way when adopting AI. And the final thing I would say is really clearly defining your objectives and goals with your AI projects, right? For example, when you're using Gen AI, answers can be subjective, right? So making sure that you're clearly defining and working with all lines of business or relevant end users of Gen AI to define what success looks like, or else you'll have a lot of sprawl within your different projects and pilots. And what you want to do is see through a successful project, and ultimately just defining upfront what success would look like has really helped our end goal and show a lot of successful projects by having that upfront, like I said, framework checked, and then also objectives and goals being clear and definitive.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alyson. I'm going to take just a second to emphasize the very first thing you said, right? Data and data governance. You can't have AI without data. So when we talk about prioritizing use cases or prioritizing projects and, oh, we got budget and we can do AI. Well, yes, you can only do AI when you have data to do AI with. And so sometimes you have to kind of do the, the foundational stuff, that maybe it's not the blame, but you got to have data to do AI. So yep. Yeah, it's a lot of steps. And finally, SupTech, over to you for your last thoughts or comments.
Yeah, I can only subscribe again and compliment a bit. Let me first start with a pessimistic view. I think we should be also a bit skeptical. It's a lot of hype, a lot of buzzword. Skeptical means sometimes the business areas reach me and they have a problem and they would like to use it for an AI use case. When you look at the problem, it's rather a simple digitization problem. It has nothing to do with AI. It has to do with some kind of analytics. It has nothing with AI. So let's demystify a bit the AI hype. It's people have forgotten legacy AI. Now they are all on Gen AI. That's a bit our job on the engineering side. Second topic is focus. I can only repeat it. Focus, focus, focus. It's something also you see in many other forums. Let the top leaders decide where the first end-to-end high-value use cases should be deployed. At a certain point, I think that is also a bit their role, and they should use a framework, a prioritization framework. That's for sure. The third topic is I don't believe in project management techniques when it comes to AI activities. I personally think AI should be seen as a product. You should not have this, let me say, conviction that we bring a team together, they build something, and then they leave. The product stays, and the product has to be continuously developed, operated, monitored. So we should move from a project approach to a more product approach. That's something that people don't see when they develop the first models, the first AI solutions. The team has to somehow stay together. Last but not least, something I would like to quote and share in the chat. I really like this famous BCG MIT rule, 10, 20, 70. I would say we have to follow the rule. 10 says 10% of the AI effort, I can confirm this now after a couple of years, is what we see is being spent for data science activities, for designing algorithms, creating models. It's just 10%. 20% has to do with building the underlying technologies, data lakes, master data systems. When we talk about data lakes, structured, unstructured data, ideally put together, that's just 20%. And 70% is what we see at the moment, hitting a bit the end user adoption, is adopting business processes, focusing on end user training, end user adoption, because we will see at a certain point when you don't have architects, when you don't have user experience experts and pros experts working together, you will have dozens of little tiny IT tools, AI tools, And the end user doesn't want that. The end users don't want 20 tools for one or the other business problem to be used. They expect from us that we rethink how the process is functioning and how the AI features can be embedded into their existing systems, into their existing process. And that's 70% of the journey. That is something that I think we should not underestimate. It's quite a lot. And there I think data scientists usually come together with software engineers and product owners and find this out. And I think this is my recommendation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was very insightful and on point. Thank you again for joining us, everyone. And Simone is back on the line with us to help us wrap up. Over to you, Simone. You're on mute.
Thank you so much, Nathalie, and thank you to Alyson and to Sarah and Matt. What an amazing panel. I have like really plenty of notes. Drew, over to you to wrap up. Thank you.
Thanks, Simone. And thank you to all panelists, moderators, and those of you joining us online. Really great day, a lot of content, and we'll be continuing over the next few days. So huge thank you to all. And if you want just a quick glimpse at what you will be seeing in the days to come, tomorrow we have a deep dive into the data journey. For Wednesday, come join us for supervisory areas and use cases with examples of SupTech solutions, how they're being deployed. For Thursday, then, we will have regional sessions and SupTech enablers, including public-private collaboration. And then Friday, we will be having a solutions showcase. You'll be able to see some demos, and then it will also wrap up with the Hackathon Awards. Come join us for that. I will say that we did today have over 500 attendees joining us today, coming in and out of the sessions. So wonderful to have you all. Thank you for the astute questions as well. It really adds to the rich discussions we've had. And then know too that, of course, you can also join these panels again, the recordings later on at another time. With that, Simone, I'll happily hand over to you if you want to talk a little bit more about Thursday activities as well as the booths that people can join.
Yeah, just quickly, thank you, Drew. There are still the registration for the AI Bootcamp on Thursday is still open, and there are the bootcamps in the AirMeet platform that you can access through this screen. So we really welcome you to go visit the bootcamps, and it's an opportunity to see demos and to interact in person with the vendors that are the solution providers and understand more about the work and what solutions are available from them. So with that, thank you, everyone. Really appreciate everybody's contribution. It's been a vibrant day of conversations. Hopefully this has been available for everyone, and looking forward to connecting again with you all tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.